So do that help you deal with people? Deal with relationships? Deal
Yeah.
with people?
Yeah, because I date women, and it's easy for me to understand a woman. And it's funny. Like the other day, I was at the gym, and this woman, she started exercising with me, and she was telling me all about her journey and how hormones affect her, and that I'm so lucky to be a man because I never would ever have to go through something like that. And I was just like,
but I went through it.
yeah, but I went through it. I know exactly what you're talking
Yeah.
about. So it's you find a way to
have a medium.
You have a medium with everybody, understand what people go through.
Yeah. Okay, Angel. So are you fully transitioned?
When you say fully transition, I think a lot of people, that's like their biggest question.
Right.
When I first started telling people, or if I ever tell somebody, oh, I'm transgender, the first thing they say is like, oh, do you have a penis? Or do you grow one? Which I think that is a ridiculous question.
Okay.
You don't grow a penis. I will say that when you do a transition from female to male, there are changes in your, or even male to female, there are changes in your genitalia.
Mm-hmm.
For male to female to male, your clitoris elongates,
mm-hmm.
and it not super long either, but it definitely changes. Stuff changes, and you can. I had one guy ask me if he could see. Actually, it wasn't a guy. It was a female, a lesbian girl. She asked if she could see, and I was like, "You can Google it."
Right.
Yeah, and it's like people, they kind of get a little adventurous when they don't feel like, I don't feel like they have any, how can I say, like reservations about asking you, oh, do you have penis? Are you gonna get that surgery? And honestly, that's a huge step. Like, I have my top surgery, and I think I look like a man, and when it comes to the bottom surgery for males and females, one, it's extremely expensive.
Wow.
Two, you have to make the decision that you are going to not have children, that you're going to be sterile.
Wow.
That's a big thing to deal with, like, and that's hard. Even to have that surgery, I have to have a hysterectomy first, and I have to accept that I will not, have children. I personally, I couldn't have children anyway. I don't know how I would deal with that mentally. I never have wanted to be pregnant because I would feel so out of place in my body.
Right.
There are some people that do get pregnant, but for me, I've never seen myself in that way. But I would have to accept, like, I'm gonna get rid of my eggs and not freeze them or anything like that. And that surgery as well is very, I would say, like, barbaric.
Wow. Why do you say that?
Because to have that surgery, they basically make a penis for you out of your own muscles, like, or skin. So they'll take a skin graft from your arm, your back, your thigh. You have to have electrolysis on wherever you're getting it, so there wouldn't be any hair. So that you have to go through that first. You have to have your hysterectomy. You have to get off hormones for your hysterectomy and stuff like that. Or you have to get off hormones if you want to save your eggs. And then you have to have your hysterectomy. Then you have to have electrolysis. Then you have to have the surgery, which there's different types, but most of the time people want phalloplasty, which is when they actually make a penis out of your skin, and they have to attach it to you first, make sure you can your body accepts it, not rejects it, and then they'll put your urethra through it, which is a different surgery.
Sheesh.
Yeah, and it's a lot. That's so
Have
much.
you ever, like, questioned going through that, or you was just like, after the research, you was like, I don't think I want to go through that?
The whole time I was just like, I don't think I want to go through that.
Yeah.
My top is what bothered me the most, and the fact that I don't have that has alleviated my dysphoria so much, and I'm fine with how I am back down there. It doesn't really bother me. you know, like some people they have trouble with feeling like, oh, when I use the bathroom I have to sit down or stuff like that. Like people will know. It doesn't bother me.
I think it's all mental.
Yeah.
Do you think so?
Yeah. It definitely bothered me at first, but then I was like,
okay.
who's coming at me when I come up the store? Like, hey, we're sitting down. Like,
yeah.
Like, you know, I feel like you just have to have confidence in yourself, and the most important thing is accepting that you're transgender. You know, a lot of people, they're angry that they're transgender because, you know, you don't want to be like that. Nobody wants to be this way.
Really?
I wouldn't. No. I love the fact that I am, but do I wish I had a masculine upbringing, was male my entire life, but they had the same brain? I don't know. It's a hard yes and no, because I wouldn't be the same person. You know, I wouldn't be me if I was born male. My whole life experience would have been different. And so it's really hard, and you have to accept the fact that you are transgender and not let it get at your self-confidence, and understand that you're not always going to be, I don't want to say equal, because I feel like I am equal to a man, but you're not going to have the same experience, and you are yourself. And I'm happy that I am a trans man, but I don't want everybody to only identify me as that, because I transitioned to be a man. But yeah, I think with the surgery and being fully transitioned, it's really that, like, with the bottom surgery, it's just, for both, it's really expensive, and it's a big step to take. It's a huge decision to say, I'm going to get this done. You know, you got to be out of work and everything for a long time. I was out of work for a week for this, and I went through. It took a year. It takes a year to fully heal, and it's a lot. I don't think people really think how much you have to think about when you're making that decision.
Absolutely, absolutely. Wow, that was very informational. So informational. So to switch gears a little bit, you're very religious.
Yeah.
Should I say, are you very religious?
I wouldn't say I'm super religious. I do go to church every Sunday. That was something I decided to, like, a commitment I made to myself when this year started. Was that I always felt close to God, and especially as a child. I went to Catholic school. I was brought up in Catholicism, and that was my Spanish side. My mom, who's white, she doesn't believe in that. She's like, you know, I guess like agnostic or atheist.
Atheist, yeah.
So she doesn't really believe in that. I was never baptized. Actually, baptized. I got
I've seen
baptized.
that. Yes, I did see that you got baptized recently.
So, growing up, I started to stray away from religion, especially when you're in the LGBT community. You feel like you're not accepted at all. Like, there's no place for you. So I strayed away. But I always felt like I believe in God. You know, like I did. It makes me feel better to go to church. It makes me feel closer to God. It makes me feel closer to myself and more hopeful. As a person. As a person, besides my gender dysphoria and being transgender, I've always dealt with a lot of like depression, and going to church helps me be more hopeful in life and more humble, more just more hopeful, like that everything doesn't just get to me, and going there makes me feel better.
That's dope. That's dope.
Thank you. And I also feel like when I did post that I did get baptized, it's a lot of people in my community had hit me up like, I want to go to church, but I feel like I'm not accepted.
Yeah. So that's my next question. How was your church? First of all, before we get to that, how did you find your church? Because you said you grew up in the Catholic religion, and now you're a Christian, correct? Yes. So how did you find your church, and what made you get into Christianity per se?
Okay, so I've always known about this church because I used to live in the area in Glendale, Queens. And I never went. And then I was dating a girl who is religious.
Mm-hmm.
And when we first got together, I told her, like, I don't believe in that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not accepting, you know? And she was like, you know, that's just, you know, basically she told me, like, God saved my life, you know, I don't know how you could not believe in, you know, be like that. So we went to church a few times together, and, you know, it's like when something hits you,
yeah.
you know, and you realize that you've been pushing something away that you know that you wanted. It's not that whole time I wasn't praying to God. I just felt like God didn't accept me. So when I went to church, I realized I don't have to be here announcing that I'm transgender. I'm just here to praise my God. If somebody feels that I am not worthy of God because of how they interpret the Bible, then I feel like that's on them. You know?
Good point. Good point.
I feel like God accepts me for who I am.
Right.
If I walk in the light of God and how He says that we should be, then I don't see why I wouldn't be accepted.
Absolutely. So it was more so for a lot of people in general, not even only transgender, people in general, they look at it as, well, God is not accepting of me. Well, no, maybe it's the people that...
Yeah. That interpret that.
Yeah.
And there's actually a verse that I want to say. This is one that I wanted to say that I specifically wrote down because I felt like we were going to talk about this.
Absolutely.
This is one that I always go to. It's in the Bible, Jeremiah X 1:5. Before I was formed, God says, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. And before you were born, I consecrated you. I appointed you a prophet to the nations. And there's also in Psalm 139:13, for you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. Wow. So I think there's something to take from those verses where God already knew who we were when He was creating us. And I don't think God created us to be condemned to hell by our birth. You know, it's enough to sit with it when we're old and we can deal with that, to be like, oh yeah, like, you know, people think that way. But think about a young kid who's growing up in religion, and they realize that they're transgender, and you tell to this 7-year-old or something like, well, God doesn't think you're living right. And, you know, people will take their lives because they don't think they're accepted by God, even as a young child. And, you know, it's important to think how you make other people feel. And again, I feel like God created us, like He says, in our mother's womb. And I don't think it was something wrong with us. You know, I don't know. But that's just how I take it.
Oh man, that I don't even want to get too like coolsy because I'm so emotional. But I think that was beautiful, and the way you worded it was so dope because it's like, imagine these kids like 6, 7 years old that tell their parents this is how they feel, and people are like, well, no, because this is not how you're supposed to be. This is, God is not saying this, blah blah blah, and they kill themselves.
Yeah.
And they just feel not accepted, or they harm themselves, or they take drugs. And I love that because even if you don't believe in Christianity, because I strayed away, I think at least that Bible verse or whatever Bible verse you, in your daily life, you associate yourself with, that's dope.
Yeah.
Because that's how you're able to live.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And a lot of, just to keep it at transgender, people don't associate with any type of religion because of not feeling like they're going to be accepted. And I feel like in this world you have to believe in something, because how are you living?
Yeah.
So that just go back to me saying, like, if they have nothing to hold on to or have no faith, that's how much easier it is to take your life.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you feel like there's nothing to live for. There's no hope. So wow, that was definitely beautiful. I'm gonna repost that. That was definitely beautiful. So how has the church accepted you?
To be honest, they don't know that I'm transgender.
Oh wow, okay.
I don't. You know, there's people there that know me from before. That they know that I am, and they haven't said anything. You know, that was one of the things too. When I was about to be baptized, one of my family members, she was like, well, do they know that you're transgender? And like I said, I feel like, one, I didn't transition, to tell everybody.
Right.
And two, again, people, I don't know how somebody's gonna take that, so I don't announce to people, like, especially there, like, oh, I'm transgender, because I don't want, people.
Do you think that they will probably?
I'm not sure.
You don't think about it?
No, I don't think about it. Sometimes I look it up. I mean, it's something that I battle with, even today when I was there.
Okay.
I was, like, really
I love
conflicted.
That you're honest.
Yeah, I was really conflicted, like, I was so afraid to be open, and it's sad to be really afraid to be open.
Mm-hmm.
It's because you feel like, oh, these people are gonna think that. Because I feel like, especially with transgender, it's different. Because, I mean, yeah, you can be transgender and be gay, like, but
What do you mean by that?
Because
you could be transgender and be gay.
Like.
Yeah. So wow, would you ever tell? Would you ever? But see, to me, I feel like, are you living your truth by not telling them?
Yeah, and that's the whole problem I had today, because I'm, doing this program with them that, basically they're getting to know me more. And it's like, I was sitting there just all out of it while they're teaching us, and I'm like, these people will never know my true story because I'm afraid to tell them. And
are you afraid to see how they'll react to you?
So, or I'm just afraid that if I tell them, then my whole experience there will not be authentic anymore, because it won't be. I mean, I guess you can say at the same time it isn't authentic because they don't know me.
Right.
But again, I don't go there and talk to the pastor. I go there to hear the word and just get close to God. I don't go there to get close to the people there. So.
Yeah, but in the same breath, I feel like, yeah, you are getting close to God, but I feel like it's better to know and to feel, especially because you're, like, put on this platform to other people, not even against your will because you wanted to, but now you're at a higher platform, probably than you expected for other people. And I feel like to show other people, like, listen, this is what it is like, they're accepting of me, so they'll be accepting of you. Because you are preaching, like, listen, get into, I don't know if you're preaching, but for you it's like, I'm in a religion, I'm religious, I'm closer to God, blah, 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 but I didn't tell them yet.
Yeah.
So, do you, if that's your comfortability and that's what you, if that's how you feel like trans should be, then that's what it is.
I definitely am conflicted. I think it would be a beautiful thing to tell them that I am, because I went through so much struggling, and finding God helped me so much. Like, coming back to this religion helped me so much in the past 3 months. Like, my whole life has changed.
So had the people helped you, or more so has been the word?
The word.
Okay, well then, and honestly in that aspect, I'm not mad at you for not telling them.
And, I mean, I think it would be an amazing thing, because if you become more accepting, if a religion becomes more accepting for these people in LGBT, they will get so much more followers, and they would help so many more people. And I was actually watching a video about because I look it up, like, Christianity and transgender on YouTube, and I saw a pastor, and he went on this whole long story. I mean, you can look it up on YouTube too, where he says that he didn't know what transgender was, and when he really educated himself on what transgender was, he was like, he's the one that I got that from. That, these people are made this way, and he doesn't think that God made them this way, so to be condemned to hell. Like, we are all made in God's vision. Right. Out of God, like, from God. So, and this is, again, something we cannot help. Right. I think they have more of an and I don't agree with the argument about, like, oh, you're lesbian or gay, because there's less proof that, like, oh, that's how. That's what I meant to ask you about. There's so much proof scientifically, like, that we cannot help this. We literally do it to save our own lives, because if I don't do this, I'm I'm not gonna be happy. I'm not gonna be myself.
It's true.
And I'm probably gonna end up
kill yourself.
You know, we
That's
have
true.
the transgender community has a 40% suicide rate, and it's like we don't do it to, you know, say like
I just want to be a
yeah,
guy. I just
like,
want to
like fuck this body you gave me.
Yeah.
It's not that. It's to be comfortable in it daily. It's hard.
Absolutely. That's a great ass point.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to feel comfortable in their skin, and if you're not comfortable, it's just like fucking girls that go and get their bodies done.
Exactly.
Literally the same thing. Like, if you're not comfortable in your skin, you go and you do something to where you feel comfortable. So I definitely think it correlates.
Yeah.
So I think that is dope. How do you feel about Trump banning transgender people?
Honestly, I don't understand it. I feel like it has to do more so with, probably even the religion that these people in the government follow.
And they say they're Christian.
Yeah.
It depends on how you interpret it, I guess.
Yeah, and they don't accept that. Another thing is I think, if I'm not mistaken, that they banned people who identify or have been diagnosed with gender dysphoria. And like I said earlier, you have to be diagnosed with gender dysphoria to have surgery. So I think what it is...
So do you think you're trans if you are diagnosed with that?
Yes.
Are you technically trans? Because I'm sure there's people out there that say, I'm trans. But yeah.
And that's actually a huge argument in the
Okay.
transgender community.
Okay.
Is that people will say you don't have to have gender dysphoria to be trans. And I mean, there's probably going to be some people who don't agree with me because it's such a big problem in our community, but I do think you have to have gender dysphoria to be trans because that's the whole reason we transition, is because we don't like our bodies.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, that's all I have really to say about that. But yeah, that is a big, huge thing in our community. But with that being said, with the Trump thing is, obviously the people who are being diagnosed with gender dysphoria are doing it because they're probably going to have surgery or they have medication that's given to them. And I do think it's a money thing. Like, they don't want to pay. Like, sure, they have medical insurance for soldiers, but they don't want to pay with something that they don't even agree with. Why would they?
I honestly think that's what it is.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So, we about to wrap this interview up. Is there anything, Angel, you want to touch on before we wrap it up? Something in your mind that you're like, no, this is what I want to say.
There's nothing really specific. I feel like we hit a lot of topics here today. The only thing is, I would say that the transgender community needs a lot of understanding. Not only within like the general population, but even within our own community. And it's really important to do research. Transgender is just not a this to that. It's a feeling that we have, and that's why we go from this to that. And it's really important to accept people even if you don't necessarily agree with them. And it's also, I feel, really important for the transgender community not to be angry when people don't accept them, because a lot of people have never seen that in their life. And you have to understand that it's hard for people to wrap their heads around. And it will make you feel better if you understand that people aren't hating you because they want to. It's people who are hating you because they don't know who you are or how you could feel like that. And they're not open to it. And education is a huge thing. Yeah, because
I would more say, like, I wouldn't say I'm like that now, because this interview was very enlightening and the one last week. But for the most part, I can speak for people like me. It's like, I don't know much about it, you know? And it's not to say I agree or disagree, because that's not my decision to make. But I think it's more so education. Like, regardless of me agreeing or disagreeing or anything other than that, I think we have to understand. And when we understand, it'll be less violent. It'll be more understanding that these are human beings. more understanding of what they go through. Cause shit, I was about to be in here bawling because it's like, I wouldn't say I'm a people's person, but I sympathize. And I don't want to say sympathize with them because they're not fucking people that you just cry about, but just, again, understanding, you know?
Yeah.
I'm sure he has beautiful times in your life. You have positive feedback, as his social media says, and it's like...
I don't receive any hate.
Yeah, like, I'm sure he goes out and have day-to-day basis, like he said, he don't go and, you know, broadcast it like, hey, but I do honestly appreciate you being here and also on your platform.
Yeah, thank you.
Bringing awareness. That's what we need.
Nah, and thank you for doing this. That's why I wanted it to come, because it's an important thing. Mm-hmm. What you're doing, what I'm doing, like, it's really important to educate and to understand each other, to talk to each other, and to remember that we're all... There really is only one race, and that's the human race. And we need to focus less on segregation and coming together.
Dope. All right, so tell them your social media.
Okay. My social media is on Instagram is at Saint X Blanco. It's SaintXBlanco. And you can there's a link to my YouTube on it, which will be easier to find because there's so many people on YouTube. Like, I just have my name, but I have my link there, and if anybody has questions, you can always hit me up. I answer almost everybody. Yes,
so most definitely follow him. He's such a dope individual. And y'all, remember again, subscribing is motherfucking free. You don't gotta pay a goddamn penny. Subscribe to him too. And his YouTube is gonna be in a link below. So check him out. Alright, y'all. Subscribe. Love y'all. Mwah. Yay! Oh, thank you so much.